moving right along, let's talk about an interesting division because they always seem to be competitive, even though they're always not that good. It's just none of them can win a lot of games. And that's the AFC South. Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. You have probably the worst team in the NFL in the Jaguars in the division, and a kind of a fight always between the Colts, the Texans, and the Titans. Ashton, do you want to kick it off, or you want me to handle this one first?
You go ahead and handle it first.
Okay. This division is interesting now because of the arrival, if you will, of the Titans. Now, will they be the same team as last year? No. I do not think that Ryan Tannehill can duplicate what he did last year. It's almost impossible. The amount of completion percentage he had last year was insane. That being said, I still have the Titans winning the AFC South. I think they go 10-6 this year because Derrick Henry is still on board. I think A.J. Brown makes that next step into elite receiver status. Their defense just got better because they just signed Jadeveon Clowney just a few days ago. So this team has all the pieces, and I like their coach. I really do. He's young. He's inventive. I think the Titans are going to be a 10-win team. Now, will they win the Super Bowl? I think it's too early for them. But they win the AFC South. And my second place team is the Houston Texans. Another perfect 500 team, 8-8. They cannot lose DeAndre Hopkins and expect to win more games. It's just not going to happen. Bill O'Brien did not do a good trade. Everyone made fun of it. Rightfully so. You don't give away a top 3 receiver for a running back. And what was it, like a second-round pick? Not even a first? Awful.
Bill O'Brien should have got fired for that trade.
I love J.J. Watt, but he's getting older, and he's always hurt. They don't have enough on the defensive side anymore like they used to justify the offense. And the only reason why they're going to win 8 games this year is because Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. I wouldn't say poor man's Russell Wilson, but because Watson's probably still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but he's that kind of quarterback where even when the play collapses, he'll still get you 5-6 yards. He's that good enough to win them 8 games by himself, but he doesn't have enough supporting cast. They give Brandon Cooks from your Rams, Ashton, but he's not a top receiver. I don't believe he's a top receiver, and
when he's healthy, he is.
I still don't think he's the number 1 receiver you need when you had Hopkins.
But he's not. I'm not saying he's a Hopkins. He isn't. But he is a number 1 receiver. I would say he's a good number 1 receiver. He's not great. He's not a Hopkins. He's not a household name, but he puts up decent numbers. And that's why he was really good at New England. And then when he came to the Rams, he had good production. And you go ahead and finish. I'll get into my spill whenever I go over mine.
I have third place in the AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts. And there's one thing, in my opinion, that has holding them back from becoming 10-6 instead of 6-10, and that is the quarterback. Phillip Rivers will not do it for the Colts. He is not the same quarterback he used to be. He never led the Chargers to anything. And if you think he's going to step into the Colts and magically turn them around, that's not going to happen. They need a quarterback in Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers isn't. They have all the pieces there. An amazing offensive line. Good enough receivers. A running back like Marlon Mack, who I think is pretty good. A defense that is top-notch. They have the pieces in Indianapolis to be a playoff team, but they don't have the quarterback yet. And that's going to turn them from 10-6 to 6-10. And then finally rounding up the worst team in the NFL, most likely the Jaguars this year. 2-14, and that is generous. Those 2 wins are generous. This team is, if a dumpster fire was on fire, then you roll it down the stairs, and then Fisher, your old Rams coach, comes back to coach that trash can. That's the kind of team we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. I think a big part of this NFL season will be somewhat of which front offices handle COVID the best and then are able to instill a culture of like responsibility in their locker rooms to keep people responsible and not get COVID. And I guarantee you, a few top teams are going to get knocked off because of that, and you'll have some surprising teams. And people need to understand, culture and Jaguars don't exist in the same sentence or in
Culture
the
in
same universe. In the same
Jacksonville.
universe,
Culture.
you literally have any time a Jaguar player leaves, all the other players that have left Jacksonville instantly go on social media and say you're free, chains are off, and it's awful. It's just, I'm sorry if you're a Jacksonville fan, but your owner is straight garbage. He's
Yeah.
just not good, and the GM is even not better.
Imagine
Like
this.
I
Actually,
rather have Bill O'Brien than like that manager and GM.
imagine having Leonard Fournette as your running back, who, albeit last year, he did not have the best year. But the year before that, he was considered top 15, top 20 running back. Imagine having such a bad GM that you can't even get a single trade offer for him. Not a single, not even a 7th-round pick. So instead of trying to trade him, they just cut him. Cut him for nothing.
Oh, what a bargain the Buccaneers got for Leonard Fournette. That is like taking candy from a baby.
The Buccaneers were sitting there, were like, I'll take that, thank you. But
And
Ashton,
that was, we'll talk about the Bucks a little bit later, but
you go ahead. You go ahead.
I'll go quickly. My number one is we have the exact same lineup, by the way. I'm gonna say we have the same order. Tennessee Titans. I have them going 13-3.
Ooh,
I
there, generous.
You say generous, but I'm really would you have them going what 11-5?
10 and
So
6.
you had 10-6.
Yeah.
So I only have them winning 3 more games, and I don't think that's crazy impossible given their schedule. I have them winning a close game against the Chiefs
Ooh.
and beating the Texans and the Bills closely and the Vikings. So I have them having a very solid year after the last one in the regular season. My second is the 10-6 uh, Texans, and that is only different from yours because they beat the Chiefs in week 1.
Wow.
And that's
Okay. You're predicting a
because
Texas
Super
upset.
Bowl slump. That's a Super Bowl slump game. They go into that game and they lose surprisingly a very close game by like a field goal or something. It'll be a great game to watch, but it'll be one of those ones where Deshaun Watson is running around like his hair's on fire and like he's just like slippery and makes some great throws. So I have the Colts going 8-8.
Wow.
Like you said, Philip Rivers won't get it done. They will. They're going to be that weird team that beats some people they shouldn't and loses to people they shouldn't either. They
That's
will
always
play. Yeah, they will play up to a team and they will also play down to a team, kind of like the Steelers last year.
watch them lose to the Jaguars or something like that.
Oh, Jaguars. Yeah, I have them going 2-14.
Okay, well,
We're on the same wavelength there. Hot garbage because you like I remember when they signed Nick Foles and being a Rams fan, like I know the history of Nick Foles as your starter quarterback, and I was like, have fun with that. It's not gonna work out, and he didn't even last a week. So
we'll talk about Nick Foles when we get to Chicago in a second. But he's not a starter, he's not a starter. But Ashton, that the way you have it, the AFC South is going to be very competitive, except for the
yes.
hot dumpster fire of the Jaguars. So we'll see how that turns out. It could be anywhere from, the Colts could still win the AFC South. It's that kind of variation of how close these teams are.
Oh
so.
yeah, it's close enough where I could see the Colts just pulling off a slight victory to get into the playoffs, and they'll probably instantly lose.